Mr. Lukas Dzuroska from Efma. Hello, you're welcome. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good morning. Thank you so much, Mustafa, and as well, sorry, I forgot the name.
Jokan, yes.
Jokan. My name is Lukas, as was mentioned. I'm not asking you to spell my surname, nor to tell it. I should be that guy from Efma. So it's that Lukas from Efma. That's what I'm trying to do in each and every country. I represent Efma. Many of you might have heard of Efma. Many of you probably haven't. Efma is a global banking association. We are based in Paris. We exist in the market almost for 50 years. And we have connections to the most senior people that you know in the banking industry all over the places. What we try to do is we try to connect bankers because we believe that it's not just about competition, but mainly in international perspective is about exchanging the best practices and about bringing the best case studies and the best innovation directly to the customers. Now, what I'm going to talk about here today is about, we call it new era, as the organizers actually asked me to call it. We call it the retail banking and innovation trends that we have identified. Now, how we have put them together. Every year, together with Accenture, probably many of you know them, we organize the Global Banking Innovation Awards, where we try to have all the banks participating and nominate their best case studies and their best projects over that year to the competition. Now, within the 4 years, we have received more than 2,000 of those case studies. In 2017, it was another 500 that we received. So what we did was we put those 500 case studies together, and we were trying to identify the most common topics. So don't expect me today to talk about blockchain. Don't expect me to talk about future, because there are no such a thing as predictions that are going to happen in the upcoming 5 years. There are things that are happening in some countries that are more mature in terms of innovation than Turkey. There are things that are happening in some other countries that are 5 years, 10 years ahead of some other countries. And those should be the countries to look for. I just mentioned, for example, Nordics region. I know there is a huge focus and there is a huge effort in Turkish society to make it cashless by 2023. A huge effort from BKM with cooperation of all the banks. Now, guess what? In Stockholm, you have one last branch handling cash in most of the banks. You have 4 banks, 5 banks in the market, and there is one last branch handling cash. You have the signs when you are entering the shops, we don't accept cash because it's already too costly for them. There's no such a thing as gray economy. They have high penetration of digital inside the market, and at the same time, those people are digitally savvy. It doesn't matter if you're 60 years old or 70. You use banking through online. And this is the way where probably most of the countries will go. Now, when it comes to innovation, you'll be quite surprised, but I represent actually a region of different spread of countries. So it's Nordics, Poland, Turkey. The reason why, and many people are asking, because these countries and these regions have one thing in common, and it's the innovation approach in banking. In banking, Turkish banks and Polish banks are one of the most innovative examples over the places. You can compare them to Wells Fargo, you can compare them to Bank of Tokyo, Mitsubishi, you can compare them to anyone globally. But they are doing the right things at the moment because they are delivering the experience that Facebook is doing. They are delivering the experience that young people are expecting because that's where the population is right now. Now I'm going to talk about those 6 trends that you have seen, and I'll start with a short story from Singapore, OCBC Bank. Many of you have heard of bots as one of the key highlights and one of the key topic and focus of the banks. So OCBC Bank went even further. There were many attempts last year of the bots, chatbots, to have direct contact with customers based on AI technology. Now, Emma is one example from OCBC Bank that is not just doing the responses to the requests from the customers, but at the same time, she does a proactive approach. She can make a lead generation for you as a bank because she can ask some direct questions if that particular customer is interested in taking a loan, is taking a mortgage, if there is a life even happening in the customer's life, if they are getting married, if they are having a child, and so on and so on. And it's a bot, it's a robot, it's not a person, it's not a human. And this is where the banks are able to go. To explain it a bit more on the graph, so that's the first trend that we call bottom line. because bots are already bottom line for most of the banks. It's not the future, it's the reality. Most of the banks are doing so. So yesterday you might see there were some algorithms, rules, treatments, some back office that was basically all the information done to the bot or provided to the bot to communicate with the customer. Request for assistance, customer service. Quite easy. Today, you might see that it has a complex solution of CRM systems, selling processes, brand consistent personalities, even the type of tone and voice, the way how you want to communicate with the clients, to set the atmosphere. That later on you get the tailored offer, not just coming from the bot side, but leading generation for your salespeople, for banking salespeople. And that's the case of Efma from OCBC Bank Singapore. Now we come to the second example, and I took a privilege to give you one example from the market. Hopefully not all the other banks will be offended, but I took just one example of many that actually are even in Turkish market.
Selamünaleyküm.
Hayırdır Mehmet abi, düşünceli gördüm seni.
Sorma be, bir sıkıntı oldu Mahsul'da da. Anlamadım gitti. Baksana şunların haline. Kime sorsak diyorum.
Bizim mühendise soralım.
Bizim mühendis?
Bizim denizdeki mühendis.
Kim ki o?
Bak şimdi Mehmet abi.
With our application, Augmented Agricultural Intelligence App, agricultural engineers work hand in hand with our farmers. Our farmers share their questions about their products by sending photos and videos or in writing, whichever way they wish. Our agricultural engineers get back to them with a solution after conducting research for their specific situation. By using this application, our farmers can safely grow their products. The Phenology engine is the second magical component of the app. Our app is the first of its kind that provides super farming opportunities to each farmer. Triggered by itself, it executes personalized advice to each farmer according to the Phenology engine behind it. The engine manages all growing stages of agricultural products and coaches farmers in reaching the super product. With one click, our farmers can access farming tips, tractors for rent, market prices for their products, weather updates, and relevant news that will make their lives easier and more efficient. With all real-time features, the Augmented Agricultural Intelligence app is here to transform and digitalize the agricultural ecosystem. From DenizBank, a trademark builder of new ecosystems.
Now, this is not about DenizBank. Probably many of you have heard of the project or haven't seen it yet in the market, but it was awarded as one of the best products at our latest innovation. Why? Agricultural business in Turkey is very strong. It's one of the niche market, one of the very strong niche market, and there needs to be a proper approach to those type of customers to get the revenues, because we believe that right now these days, since margins in retail banking are shrinking, banks are pushed to find another way, another stream of revenues. And SME sector was many times underserved market. I'll get back to that. But especially agricultural as one of the niche market is very, very strong, especially in Turkey. They generate a huge amount of revenue and you have a huge amount of people working in that sector. And they're looking for a solution that can ease their job so they can focus on the things that they are good at. And this is the trend that we call niche. Or niche is nice. Why niche is nice? Because many banks have already a strategy on how to define niches. You have niches of youth population, you have niches of senior people, you have niches of kids, and so on and so on. Now, it's very easy to define them by age, by mindset, by lifestyle, by needs. Quite easy. But what is new here, and what we have identified in 2017, is that banks are able to define willingness to pay. The willingness to pay is a breakthrough here, finally. Because it is not anymore to defining the strategy and to defining the products and the ways how you want to serve that particular generation, that particular segment, that particular niche market. The question is, can I make a business case around that? If I can, then that should be the priority target. Coming to the third trend, I'm glad that I have Rafał here from Poland, because he was one of the guys actually working on as well project that I'm going to show you from mBank before the third trend.
Until recently, it was a real bumpy ride. First, entrepreneurs search for the information. There are hundreds of questions and thousands of answers. How to find the right ones? Then, 90% of them go to brick-and-mortar City Hall to register their company. Next, they open a bank business account. After that, they have to update their company registry data. Finally, they find the right accountant. And guess what? They again need to update their company registry data. After 10 to 15 days, they are ready to run their business. Empower Business Starter from mBank is a revolution. Now you start your company online in seconds. Whole process is automated. We create your state digital signature. We open you a business account. We provide you with professional accounting services and officially register your company. It's not magic. mBank's powerful engine in the background does everything on your behalf. You just need to fill in a short form online. Most fields will be filled in automatically. You only have to enter 6 fields. Context advice will guide you through the process. In case of doubt, just call our professional accountant. That's it. Thanks to revolutionary Empower Business Starter, you just became entrepreneur. Good luck.
So instead of spending a lot of days in doing something that nobody is good at, starting the company and going to all the bureau offices, instead of that, banks is helping the customers to do it online from their place. Because when you're starting your company as an SME guy or as an owner, you want to focus on the things that you're good at, not to spend the time on something that you simply don't like. That's the experience. You're producing something like a baby for you. That's the best thing that you want to deliver, the best experience in that category that you know. So mBank is trying to help that. That was awarded as one of the best example in SME banking and in the ecosystem. That's what we call SME Reinvented as the third trend. As I mentioned previously, it's been underserved market for many years. Banks didn't know on how to serve them, how to serve those clients, because it was very costly, because it didn't make sense, because they needed to have many RMs, which means relationship managers, to be closer to the customers. Not anymore. You can do it online because we have finally technologies that are very easily to be used by each and every business owner. Now we talk about value-added services. VAS is a shortcut for value-added services. So a ways of non-financial services that business owners are looking for. It's not anymore about banking. They spend the most tiniest time that you can imagine on banking in their life. They want to focus on something else. However, they need services like accounting. They need services like helping with taxation, starting the company, places to work from. They need some other companies to provide them, help them with marketing materials, with a web page, and so on and so on. And banks has all these contacts. They can use it in a core banking system because they can get additional data coming even from these customers. And if they can deliver, that's the best way how to reinvent the SME banking. There is one case study, really good case study from Ireland, Elliott Irish Bank. They are able to compile the data from the retail customers and sell it, not by customer by name, but analyze the data, compile them in a structure, and sell them directly to Tesco shops and to Tesco stores for 30,000 euro per month. That's a business case because they give them information, how often do people buy, which gender they buy, at what time, and so on and so on. So basic information so Tesco can target basically the commercial around that. But that's the business case how banks should work, for example, with SMEs. The next trend is quite easy to understand. We call it Wow Workforce. But there is an example from Intesa Sanpaolo on ISP digital learning. We know that these days customers are coming to the branches less and less. They spend really small time in the branch. Usually when they make a huge decision, they come once or twice to the branch to sign a mortgage papers, to ask for a loan. But young people don't like to go to the branches anymore. Branches are not dying. They are being, at the moment, a type of segmented and as well synchronized that should be very much in hand and in line with the structure of a bank. Now, when there is a one chance that you are in touch, or two chances that you are in touch with customers, you need to make the impression, wow, this is my bank, this is who I would like to work with. And that's why we call it Wow Workforce. In Intesa, they have created a plan for their people, not for the customers, for their staff, to make believe that I represent Intesa, to make them believe that I love working here. Netflix, video-based, inspires digital learning service. They just basically have a mobile app, and if they want to learn or they have a new course, how to sell the loans, how to sell the products, how to invite the customers in the branch, and so on, they have a courses just for that, for their own people, to make them believe that they are the wow workforce. To have a Robo advisory on the back office that can help the advisors with the intelligence. This is not the same Robo advisory intelligence and Robo for advisory intelligence. And this is a huge difference. Not many people understand that. And we've seen that in the banking sector. They think it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's making your back office right and to have it prepared to serve your clients and to serve your people, because they are the first touch with the customer. They are you. They are your bank. You are not there on a top level position leading the bank, but this is you, these people that are leading the bank. Otherwise, you lose the customers because they don't have the experience. Coming to the fifth one, is not that much still appealing, let's say, in the Turkish market. Just one example from First Direct of HSBC, but it's basically connected to open APIs. We have regulation in Europe, many of you heard of it, PSD2. It's not right now a must-have in Turkey, but it's a nice to see, a nice to experience. Open APIs are basically right now the regulation from European Union that all banks need to give the data about the customers if a third party asks for that and if a customer gives the permission. That's basically the main rule of what is there. So banks are trying to open their APIs, so to have those data open and offer them to the third parties. But many banks came even further and created VPAs, because you can choose the partners whom you work with. You have the regulation, but you have still more data that you probably don't want to give the people just to follow the regulation. So we suggest not to be reactive, but to be proactive, because you can pick the partners and you can give them even more information and create a platform of the bank. That's what we call about these days. Platformification of banking, creating an ecosystem of all the fintechs, all the third parties that can offer the solution directly for the customers. Last trend, without me talking, I'll give you the example.
Personal financial management services are usually a retrospective, a history of expenses. But most people don't actually like to spend time analyzing data themselves. Why not bring about true PFM automation? Why not help our users change their financial habits using data? It's part of the Sberbank Online mobile app for private customers. Tips helps users save money, time, and effort. Tips analyzes the user's financial behavior and gives recommendations based on artificial intelligence. For example, if you have a huge sum of money on your banking card and don't plan to spend it soon, the app will recommend you use this money. You can open the deposit right from the Tips app. Another example, you're planning a new addition to your family. The Tips service can help by using AI. Tips can make a checklist with documents and addresses of the organizations to visit during the first month of your baby's life. In February, Tips becomes available to 20 million active users of Sberbank Online. Currently, the service is used by around 250,000 users daily. In the future, we will cover more life situations and give more tips to our users. We want to make tips more contextual, showing them not only in the special section of the app, but after the relevant actions of users. Want to know more? Welcome to Sberbank booth to chat with the creators of Tips, part of the Sberbank Online app.
There's no magic behind. It's called transactions for actions. I mean, banks have already for ages the data about the customers. They know where you spend money, how you spend money, how often you spend money, and so on and so on. They just basically have the data, which everybody call big data. Let's talk about big data. Yeah. My question is, how many of them have already used it? It's called intelligent data if you can use them. And this is what we call transaction for actions. Because many of the customers are interested how they can spend less, how they can right now do the right decision in their life. When many of their peers, many of their friends already did the decision previously. Who has the data? The bank has data about it. And they can construct the data and just offer it to the customers. That's transactions for actions. Help customers with the habits that your clients have already created, to give them the tips. This is how you can move forward. This is how the real data should be used. Now, to sum it up, those are the 6 trends that we've seen. There are many others in the banking industry. I'm just showing you what's happening elsewhere, what's happening globally, what's happening even in Turkey. Because most of the innovations and the top innovations were coming directly from the Turkish banking sector, from Polish banking sector, from Spain, from Nordics, and so on and so on. Those are the countries that should be looking for. Now, if many of you are questioning the banks in the market if they are doing the right things, yes, they are. Just have a look at what İşbank, Akbank, Yapi, Garanti is doing right now in the market. They are a huge institution, but they are able to make the change and to be very agile in those terms. They are much better than fintechs here in the market. And that's not that much significant to see in some other countries. In UK, you have the banking sector very easily to be disrupted. You have TransferWise, Monero, many others actually in the markets right now taking over the stake. So what we talk about, there is one essence called life, what banks have finally put into their effort. Because meeting the life values as an emerging threat of the whole retail banking innovation is that commitment, is the way how banks should focus on. So it doesn't matter if you have a client that is called Charlotte and is 67, is 19, or is just a child. You need to somehow serve their life, because the banking is just a tiny part of their life. They want to live their life and don't focus on the stuff that they simply don't understand. And when we look at it from the telescope point of view, we see live connected, we see enjoy freedom, we see start building a healthy future from the very beginning. Doesn't matter which life stage you are at, but the focus needs to be on you as a customer. Last example that I want to show you is coming from Emirates MBD, and it has the essence of life, this product. That's what we talk about. I have a good news and bad news for many of you. Many consultants, bankers, and all the other people, they spend a whole lifetime to define what is the customer experience. I'm sorry, there's no such a thing as customer experience. There is only human experience. And this is something that finally many of the people are starting to realize. Because all of us are human here in the room, and you need to serve the human needs, not the customer needs. Customers are not looking for a loan, not a mortgage. They want a home to live in. They are not looking for some additional money to get for kids' education. They want a good future for their children. And this is what we need to start to understand and start to make a step back in this. And this is my last message, what I wanted to give you here, because I believe that it makes it.
That's the balance of power changing. We are your neighbors, your brothers and sisters, co-workers, kids, your grandmothers. We're the driver sitting at the red light next to you, the other passengers on the plane. And now we have the power. It used to be Madison Avenue, census data, focus groups, secret shoppers. It used to be jingles, endorsements, infomercials, coupons. It used to be the customer is always right, said those who didn't listen. But that was yesterday. Today we found our voice. We are strangers, but we are organized. We won't wait for your big data. We want whatever, whenever, wherever. 9 to 5. We live 24 hours a day. We are a moving target. We move fast. We are a movement. We are cutting cords, changing the way things work. Status quo, status no. We brought down the taxi industry, but we are not the enemy. We are your opportunity. We are growing, getting better at getting better. We are your path to success, if you can keep up with us. We'll be on the winning team because we'll pick the winners. We are not millennials. We are families with more Facebook followers than you. We are not baby boomers. We are grandmothers who order Christmas gifts from a touchscreen. Gen X. Gen Y? No. If you listen to us, create for us, join us.
And basically that's it. I apologize for taking a bit more time than I should, but if there are any questions, happy to answer them. Thank you so much.